Parenting is full of these timeless challenges, right? But today we're going to look at how a pretty modern tool can actually help us navigate them. We're diving into how AI can work as a kind of communication coach, not to take over our parenting, but to help us become better, more prepared communicators for our kids.
Oh man, we have all been there, haven't we? It's like 7 in the morning, you're just trying to find matching socks, and all of a sudden your kid drops some massive philosophical question that would stump a whole panel of experts. It's that universal moment of being put on the spot, where you're just supposed to have this perfectly wise, thoughtful answer ready to go.
And look, this isn't just some made-up example. The author of our source material was literally standing there, soapy dishcloth in hand, when her 9-year-old just casually asks how much it costs to buy a house. I mean, where do you even start with that? How do you explain it in a way that's honest, but doesn't completely freak them out? It feels impossible, but what if you had an assistant to help you prep?
So that's exactly where this whole idea comes in. We're going to explore how AI can act as a sort of co-pilot for these moments. Think of it like an assistant right in your pocket that helps you think through your approach, not just for the tough questions, but for all sorts of everyday parenting hurdles. Now, let's be super clear. This is not about letting a robot raise your kids, not at all. It's about reframing AI as this really powerful resource. Imagine a parenting book you could actually talk to, one that takes expert advice and applies it directly to your kid and your specific challenge, right in the moment you actually need it. Okay, so let's get practical. How does this thing actually work? We're going to walk through a few real-world examples, from explaining those really complex topics to navigating the dreaded homework battles and even trying to reconnect with a teenager who's gone quiet. Okay, so this is the exact prompt that was used for that breakfast time mortgage question. And notice how specific it is. It's got the child's age, the specific topic, and the goal. Honest, age-appropriate, and not scary. That level of detail, that's the secret sauce.
And you know what's cool? The result wasn't just some single canned answer. The AI acted more like a brainstorming partner. It offered several different ways to tackle the conversation. It was almost like having a child development expert on call, helping you figure out which ideas a 9-year-old could actually wrap their head around.
Now let's switch gears to another classic parenting headache, homework. Again, just look at the detail in the prompt. It's not just, my kid hates math. It's my 14-year-old who has completely shut down. And, this is the heartbreaking part, says he's stupid. That specific context is what lets the AI give you something genuinely useful. And here's the really brilliant part. The AI didn't just spit out a list of motivation tactics. It actually helped the parent reframe their own approach. It suggested a total shift in questioning to get to the real reason for the shutdown, instead of just reacting to the behavior on the surface. And this just nails it, right? The old question, why aren't you trying? That's an accusation. It immediately puts your kid on the defensive. But the new question, what part feels hardest? Well, that's an invitation. It opens the door to a real conversation about what's actually going on. That simple shift is a total game changer. All right, what about the teenagers? What about when the communication just dries up? This prompt tackles that really delicate situation. The goal is clear, reconnect, but the boundary is just as clear, without being pushy. This is a nuanced problem, and it needs a nuanced approach.
We've all heard that generic advice, right? Just give them space. But that's not always helpful, is it? The real value here was that the AI offered specific, actionable strategies that were actually tailored to the goal of reconnecting. It went way beyond the vague tips you'd find in a random article online.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty amazing, but we absolutely have to talk about the limits. This is a powerful tool for sure, and just like any tool, you have to use it responsibly. So what are the things that AI just can't, and frankly, absolutely shouldn't do? Let me say this as clearly as I can. AI is a brainstorming partner. It's a conversation prepper. It's a prompter. It is not a therapist, a doctor, or a diagnostician. It's a support system, not a substitute for professional help, period. Yeah, these points are totally non-negotiable. It can't replace your intuition and judgment. You know your kid best. It can't diagnose anything or replace a professional. And if you're dealing with deep family issues or serious behavioral problems, the answer is always to talk to a real-world professional. This tool is for the everyday challenges, not for deep-seated crises.
All right, so now that we get the power and, the all-important limits, how do you actually start using this? The good news is it's incredibly simple. Let's just walk through the steps for your very first conversation with your new AI assistant.
It's a really simple 3-step process. First, just pick a small, manageable problem you're dealing with right now. Second, be as specific as you possibly can. Their age, the situation, the exact words they used. And third, give it some context. Telling it what you've already tried helps it avoid giving you advice you've already heard a million times.
And to make it even easier, we're just going to look at a few templates. You can literally take these, fill in the blanks with your own situation, and try them out this week.
So here's the first one, and it's perfect for when you get blindsided by one of those big questions. Just pop in your child's age and the topic, and boom, you've got a starting point for thinking about a few different ways to handle it.
And this one, man, this is for that recurring, draining struggle. If the nightly homework fight is just wearing you down, use this prompt to brainstorm some new strategies instead of just doing the same old thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
And finally, here's a template for trying to bridge that communication gap. Be specific about the situation. Maybe they only give one-word answers, maybe they spend all their time in their room, and ask for some concrete ways to try and reconnect.
But always remember this. The AI can give you ideas and options and new perspectives. But at the end of the day, you are the world's leading expert on your own child. Trust your gut. This is just a tool to help your judgment, not replace it.
And I really want to leave you with this question. Maybe the real value of a tool like this isn't about finding the single perfect thing to say in every situation. What if it's simpler than that? What if it's about helping us ask better questions, listen a little more effectively, and turn a potential fight into a moment of connection? What if the goal isn't the perfect answer at all, but just a better conversation?